some of the issues that students face. There are students who have been disadvantaged by the system. Those students who previously were funded by NSFAS and were dropped somewhere in between, and NSFAS came back, settled the debt. There are students who can't access their qualifications because of those governance issues in between. That there's small issues that are not being addressed, that I feel you just need people to advocate for graduates. You need somebody to be a voice for graduates.
Thank you so much, Trudie, for coming through. I'm actually excited for this episode today because it's proud mother moment for me. It's exciting to be sitting down with one of my students, and now you are a professional, you are a leader, you are doing amazing work. So welcome to Numbers Don't Lie, where we really just reflect and narrate a story, and then we link it up to numbers and see how numbers really help us navigate life, navigate our professional space, and anything that we do is actually numbers. So welcome, and I just want you to tell us about yourself, where you come from, a bit about your background.
Okay. It's also a turnaround moment for me. I'm very excited to be here, to be sitting across you. It's been a very interesting journey for me, but yeah, it's special to be here. So Trudie is a young woman from Mpumalanga.
Okay.
I grew up in Mpumalanga. Yeah, I grew up with my grandparents. My mother was around, but around 2006, she met my stepdad, and I was moving in between my grandparents and my mom and my stepdad at currently, who's now a big part of my life. A lot happened for me to be where I am, and I think some of the most pivotal moments for me took place when I was deciding to go to university.
Okay.
I remember consciously thinking that we didn't have money for me to go to school. And so what is it that I needed to do so that I can go to school? Because the situation at home was a bit tough. But I consciously decided, okay, I'm going to pursue school in Mpumalanga, find a college, find a university. And I was fortunate enough, TUT had a campus in Nelspruit. And then I went to the Nelspruit campus, I queried, I remember being fascinated. Oh, they have accounting. I was fortunate that I was very good at accounting. In fact, I think I got the award for best in my class in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a numbers girl.
I'm a numbers girl. I've always been. I remember being in grade 9 and doing, what did they call it at the time? I forgot what they call it. But it's the first time you are introduced to CRJs and CPJs. I was like, this is so easy for me. And everybody was just struggling with it. And I just knew that this comes easy for me.
And I'm sure you were the teacher in class.
Yeah.
Most of that, we become teachers.
I became that person, that go-to person with accounting. So it was like that throughout high school. So it wasn't a no-brainer, but I was torn, actually. I was torn between doing journalism and doing accounting. Okay. So I did my research. I remember speaking to one teacher of mine. He was like, I studied journalism and I'm here teaching you. So perhaps this is a better prospect for you than journalism. You can still do journalism when you're done and you want to explore, but consider this accounting because you're really good at it. And I figured, okay, I'm going with accounting. Then I get admitted at TUT, I go to TUT.
So maybe just to be sure, where in Mpumalanga, because I'm also a Mpumalanga girl.
Oh, yes. In Mpumalanga, in White River. So my mom and my stepdad stay in White River.
Okay.
But I was in a small town, a small village called Jerusalem. Okay. It's in between Hazelview and White River. Just in between the Masoi area.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So I'm from there. So I was commuting, because I was still staying with my grandparents, I was commuting from Masoi to
White River.
To White River to Nelspruit, because I was going to campus. Yeah.
Oh, so you did your accounting at TUT Nelspruit?
I did my accounting at TT Nelspruit, and then in the first couple of weeks, I remember I'd applied for residence, but it didn't click what it was. I got admitted at res, and now it would take away the commuting. And I was also surprised. I also had ticked a financial aid box, and I got financial aid, and because I had done well, I was able to get those merit bursaries for my first year. Then I got to stay at the residence, and I think it was the first time I was officially introduced to leadership, because in my first year, I was so excited. Like, it was like the first time I get to university and I get to express myself. And so I became chairperson of my res around mid-year, around August, September.
All right.
And that was exciting times, but it was also pivotal for me in a lot of ways, because I sort of dropped the academic ball when I got into leadership, because I was now in this new space. Everything is fast, everything is different, and I didn't have the emotional intelligence at the time
to manage that transition.
Yes, because
so I can imagine a village girl. Is it a village or a township, Lokshin type, right?
It's a village.
Okay, I call myself a village girl, so I can imagine a village girl in a small little village, and now you are in the city and you have freedom. But I can sense and feel that you led yourself towards getting to university. So there has been a leader in you through and through. So, but just tell us about that moment where you are excited, you get to first year, you meet new people. What happens there?
Yeah, what happens? A lot happened. I remember 2014, we had the national elections or something like that. So I was participating, trying to, I really love this leadership thing. For me, it came easy to engage people, to want to help, to want to mobilize, go do door-to-doors and rally people behind one common vision. And it made me excited, but it consumed me a lot. It consumed me so much that my academics suffered. And I didn't realize to what extent until I just had this voice inside of me. So I grew up in church, and I believe that, how the Bible says that you teach your child which way to go, and when they are older, they will not depart from it. Yeah, my grandfather was a pastor. So I always had this inner voice that you are not here for this specifically. You have a bigger purpose. And so if you continue this path, you'll get consumed, and you'll not achieve
you'll lose your purpose.
Yeah, what you're supposed to. So I decided to leave Nelspruit campus. And come to Garankuwa, 2015. So I remember I didn't even have the money to come to Garankuwa. I had 200 Rand, and it was 180 taxi from Nelspruit and 20 Rand from town to Garankuwa. And I was so determined that I can't fail. I can't allow myself to be consumed by everything else. To a large degree, I think I had pulled myself back. I was now insecure in the space, because I was like, I'm losing the plot and I don't know who I am. So I get to Garankuwa, and it's so funny that I didn't even qualify for us. That's how bad my marks were. You
in your first year.
It was now, because I got the first year, I was chairperson, I was doing well, my marks were great. And then second year, I led the term. It was terrible. It was, the imbalance. And then third year, that's when everything just went downhill. And I get to Garankuwa, I don't even have 50, like a 50 average. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness. And I had this imaginary Pretoria in my mind, When they said Garankuwa campus, I didn't even know that it's Garankuwa campus. So when I got
and I don't know what you mean by that, but I know.
Because being in Nelspruit and being in town, and
in the city,
it's so nice. Everything is seamless, and then you come back to Garankuwa and you are humbled. You are humbled.
It's a village.
You're back in the village, and I'm like, this Garankuwa that I had in my head is not this one that I'm seeing here. But it humbled me. It humbled me, and it was exactly what I needed.
What you needed.
It was exactly what I needed. But, another pivotal moment was our first encounter or my first encounter with you being in your class, and I'm looking at this lady like, wow, she's so passionate. Because remember in Nelspruit, the representation wasn't there at the time. It was majority white lecturers in accounting specifically. And so I see you, and you've got this amazing poem that I still, pivot back to, that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but because we are powerful beyond measure. And I remember thinking to myself, why this thing that is leadership, I do want to do it, but I can't seem to find the balance. So I spent the whole of that year just trying to find myself again.
Okay.
Yeah, just trying to find my light again, because now I was insecure, because how your leadership, but you're failing. When you enter spaces.
How do you lead and you are not leading?
Yeah, you become the campus cliche.
Yeah.
You really become the campus cliche, and people look at you and they're like,
and
one.
It can be something that is there for leaders. SRC is seen to be just another thing that people do, but they don't pass. Once they are there, it's like politics, and then students just get distracted.
Yeah.
So I think your journey is aligning and giving us that testament to say sometimes it's not really because leaders don't pass, it's because there's so much that they are focused on, and then they need to prioritize and get to understand that I'm still here for school, but at the same time I need to align myself and find myself in this passion that I have, which is leadership. So I know you are doing auditing, and I don't think we highlighted that.
Yeah.
How did you even get to, or you
auditing.
said, how did you get to auditing? Because I know you were doing accounting at school and you were passionate about it, but auditing specifically.
I was fixated with the idea of doing accounting. But it was in your class again. Yeah. I was introduced to auditing too.
Okay. In
Garangua. And I was like, oh, there's another part of accounting that doesn't really involve crunching down and being an accountant. There's the auditing part about it, and I was really fascinated about it. And I remember after having fully investing myself in academics, I also discovered internal auditing. And I was like, I like this. This for me works.
With you.
Yeah, this aligns with me because I love to engage people. I love, highlighting, okay, this is what could be going wrong in this environment. This is what can fix it. Because I think I'm a fixer. I call myself a fixer. So I really, it resonated with me a lot. Yeah. And so I fell in love with auditing. And my journey, as I began to be more self-aware, became clearer. And that's why I decided, what, I don't want to dim my light, because I do love to lead. But now I need to find a balance. I need to strike the balance between being academically focused and also being, participative, so that it grooms me. It makes me the person that is going to be all-rounded. That's what they usually call it. That's what they called it, the TET at the time. We're creating all-rounded graduates, well-rounded, meaning there's a balance between, the academic side of you and, the social side of you. So I really like that concept.
So I want to tell you a story about our Advocacy. It's a funny one. It was my first time lecturing. I was very scared of students. I speak my Tsonga English, so I was like very scared. Then I came up with an idea to say, but my deepest fear is not that I'm inadequate. Like I am everything that I can be. Then I used that poem to inspire myself. Every time I started a lecture, it was actually that poem. I was inspiring myself, but it became an inspiration to you guys.
Yeah.
So it was such a nice all-rounder that really, because I was just using that poem every day, I was abusing it. Our deepest fear, indeed, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but our deepest fear is that greatness in us. Sometimes this potential that is lying inside us, and it talks to us, and it's a small voice, and sometimes we doubt it, especially us who were never really having a coach, never really, as we grow, that awareness element was not really enforced. It's so easy to listen to this voice telling you these big things, and you say, who am I? But our deepest fear indeed is that we are beyond measure and we are powerful. That's so coming back to that, now you are aligning yourself, you're finding your feet, you are in Harankua, you are really humbled. Very. So which roles are you now taking up as a leader, as a young student leader?
I I was very conscious now. I didn't take anything for granted. Not my time, not the people around me, nothing. So I was very cautious that I ended up in the SRC ultimately.
Okay.
And in the SRC, my goal was one, help people when you can help them. When you can't help them, tell them straight you can't help them. Because you'll be sitting with people's problems and it's consuming you. And it's part of the things that affected me, I think, as a young leader, that you'll feel like you're such a failure because you couldn't solve that problem. And so I was really self-aware now going into it and going into the SRC and, being in this team of people who were great. I think my SRC was great, but I think all SRC members say that about their teams, like, oh, our SRC was the best. But we made sure we had a plan for the year. We made sure we execute everything on that plan. And it really made me feel like, you know what, I can do this. And I remember still having that balance. And in class, I was actively participating. I was, that person who would raise their hand. If we're doing an assignment, I am there bothering everybody. I'm leadership even in class.
Yeah.
So I didn't let there be an imbalance between what I was doing in the SRC and what I was doing in class. I carried that to class with me to a point where on my last year, I became a class rep.
Okay.
I became a class rep and people were like, this leadership, you come from SRC, now you want to be a class rep. And I just thought to myself, leadership is not really about positions. It's about taking initiative and just doing what you can so that you are effective in the space that you find yourself in. And I was a class rep, and I think I was a very effective class rep because when BDO came to look for students, I was the first one who was identified to go and do VAC work for them.
Okay.
In 2018. I went and I did VAC work. I think I was so nervous. Those 2 weeks were so nerve-wracking. But I was able to use my skills because now they were going with us to clients. And I was able to comfortably speak to people because I was used to engaging people. I had built that confidence. And so when I was recruited same year when I was still a student. And I was so proud of myself because I had now struck that balance and I hadn't forgotten why I was there.
And now that village girl is now a young leader. But in your era at university, what would you summarize that as? What really can you take away with? And for a student who's at university, who's maybe struggling, who's trying to find themselves, school is not happening, they also want to participate in other roles, what would you advise those students to do?
It's to remember your why you started, why you're there. Constantly remind yourself where you come from. Because even though you find yourself in that space where people are different, everything is happening so quickly around you, but the thing that brought you there, I remember with me, it was my situation back home. Like constantly reminding myself that, you know what, I can't afford to drop the ball. Because if I drop the ball, I'm dropping it for the people rooting for me, And so it's that. And two, finding balance. Not being afraid to talk to people, not being afraid to going to lecturers and engaging them. Because lecturers, you'd be so surprised the things they know. They know about our industries way more than we do because we're in this small space. Talk to your lecturers. Ask them about the industry you want to go into and engage them. You'll be so surprised what these people know. And they can help you pivot. Not all of us are A students. And I definitely don't condone not doing well because I've learned over the years that you need to be diligent. You need to put in the work. Your work must be top tier, especially as a young black person. You need to really work twice as hard, when you get into these different spaces. So don't be afraid of working hard. Don't be afraid of putting in your all. Don't be afraid of asking. I think I battled with that even when I first got to corporate, being afraid to talk to people and asking, it doesn't mean you're stupid.
You are that shy girl in the corner.
You're like, hey, no, because you're in a different space, it's no longer TT. And it's not the people you're used to. Hey, it's a different atmosphere, but I think I taught myself, no one question is stupid. Just ask. If you don't understand, ask for help.
To come out of the shell. to embrace who you are and know that you are different, but you're exceptional at the same time. So now when did you finish at TUT? Then did you continue, do postgraduate, or you went straight to corporate?
I went straight to, I was fortunate, that since I was the first student who was taken by BDO, I went and I worked with them, and they've since taken a lot of students from our faculty and brought them on board. And I've just been buckled down in corporate, one, because you work so hard in consulting, so hard. But I've done my CIA part 1, I've done my CIA part 2.
Proud mother moments.
Yes. And I've nailed it, and I'm currently doing my part 3, and it's proving to be very challenging. Yeah.
but you will be fine. Don't worry, you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's motivational. It's tough, that one.
Yeah, part 3 can be such a challenge.
Yeah.
And then now you are at BDO. What comes up there? What is your experience as a new graduate who is now working? What are you struggling with? What are you enjoying?
I think for a long time, I didn't expect to struggle with the things that I struggled with.
Yeah.
Yeah, not knowing. You enter a space, they show you a working paper, and you don't know, what is this? You don't know. Not knowing and feeling a bit out of place because, everybody seems to know what they are doing. Somehow, everybody seems to know what they're doing. And I was fortunate to be in a team where people understood.
Okay.
Like I had people who were supporting me both at work and outside of work to say, look, you'll figure it out. Don't worry, you'll figure it out. Just keep going. And it was tough. I felt out of place for a long time. And I would practice, with internal auditors, you have to take the lead on some of the projects. So outside of work, I'd really just push myself to practice. How do I talk to a client? How do I write my emails? How do I say this in a professional way? I'd Google, I'd look at videos. How do I build my confidence when talking to a client, when talking to a CFO and trying to explain a finding to someone who's been doing something for years? And you're like, you're doing this wrong. And they're looking at you, this young girl. No. And so I had to build my confidence, from scratch. I really had to also unlearn certain things. Having been in the SRC, always trying to get your way, taking shortcuts.
Leadership.
Yeah, your leadership. Now, you're not leadership. You're selling your time. Yeah. You need to be aware that you are representing this company. And I pushed myself. I think I really, really pushed myself. And I found a family at BDO. Yeah.
Okay. So then I can actually relate to your story. It's more like a story of being the first. Like I call it the responsibility of being the first, because when you come with that responsibility, you are the first from your family, you are the first from your village, you are the first from your university. That then calls in a spirit of resilience, a spirit of courage, that internal resilience that you pull, who then inspires you in your journey. If you were to just holistically say, this is the group that just keeps on reminding me that I have to pursue and excel and continue to fight in these spaces I find myself.
I think mostly it's the people that were ahead of me. I looked up to the people who could do it, and they were ahead of me. And I looked up to my friends. I'm very intentional about the people that I have around me. My friends were pushing themselves as well in the different spaces they were finding themselves in. And I think it's a little bit of a competition to say, where are you now? What are you doing? Are we leveling up? Are we? And always remembering that I don't want to drop the ball and go back home. That is always at the center. But I also looked up to my director. She was like, someone I would stare at and be like, how does she do it so easily? It looks so easy when she does it. She made it look so easy, so seamless. And it pushed me. It made me feel like, you know what, you can do it. You can do it. And sometimes what pushed me was the people who don't believe in you.
Yeah.
When you enter spaces and they're like, okay, and you're like, well, I'll show you what I've got.
Yeah, because you know that you have something.
Yeah, I'll show you what I've got. And I use my strengths a lot. I use my strengths a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So then, as now in corporate, what would you advise someone who's starting? They just got their degree. They don't know what to do. And they want to get themselves out there. What would you advise them to do?
To be intentional, one, about how they spend their time, be it currently we live in a world where your attention is just taken by everything, particularly, you know, your TikToks, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Reels, and be intentional. Be intentional about what you want. I remember when I was ready to leave, for example, the SRC and go into corporate, I even had the photo of the company I wanted to go work at. I remember I wanted to go to KPMG so bad because KPMG was the only, they were the only ones who were coming to TUT to come and recruit. I didn't even know there was something else. So I was so intentional. I said, I'm going to go. I had it as my profile picture. So constantly, every day, I was reminding myself, this is where I want to go. 2, leverage LinkedIn. I think now, because we're in a social media-based type world or environment, leverage LinkedIn, go to the companies you are eyeing.
Yeah.
Add the people who are, you know,
there,
the talent and you know, the talent, the recruiters, even the directors, like their staff, get acquainted with their culture. There's something about corporates and culture, learn the culture, look at what they post, what they talk about, and acquaint yourself, begin to see yourself and tell yourself, I'm going to get there, and just be intentional. If you haven't gotten anything like a job, just try and continue studying. Try and continue studying, because the longer you stay outside of school, your qualification kind of, you know, loses the time, because time is changing so quickly, and syllabuses are changing too quick as well.
And learning, sometimes people say, but I don't work, I don't have money, so how can I continue? There's so many free resources online. 100%. Then you get yourself a new skill on another system that you know that it's used in your field. Yeah. So definitely keeping that lifelong learning energy, making sure that you use LinkedIn. You need to be very intentional, and thank you for that. You are really a great example of manifesting your dream without anything, you know, and that's a thing that I always tell my trainees and younger people to say, but the difference between me and you, it's just age.
That's true.
Because we're exposed to the same opportunities.
Yes.
We can actually then pursue an opportunity to say, when I get to be 38, to like my age, you know that I can achieve these things. Dreams are just so valid, and they can come true for anyone, regardless of your background.
100%.
So now I know that you are you want to campaign to become council member at TUT. Back to your family.
Yeah.
What is all about that, and what makes you want to become a leader yet again?
That's a very good one. So I'll just explain it like I'm explaining to somebody who's, you know, coming across this for the first time. So the University Council is the governing body of the university. They get to set the tone of the university. They get to implement the strategy and, you know, direct where the university goes and so on. Unfortunately, graduates have an opportunity to select 2 representatives who are going to represent them in this council, in this governing body. And those 2 representatives have one sole mandate, is to represent graduates. They just go there solely for that. Yeah.
Okay. So what inspires you to get to be representing graduates from TUT?
A lot of things, and I've because I've been in corporate for the past 6 years, I've come up with a mission, where I think that it covers holistically the things that I would like to really address going into council. And that is specifically entrepreneurial opportunities for our graduates, providing support. How do they do that? I know with other universities, for example, the Ellen Gray Foundation has entrepreneurial support for those graduates in those different universities. TUT currently doesn't have that. And so I think it's important because it addresses two things, unemployment and employability as well. So we can create employment for ourselves. We just need support to just assisting graduates with research, postgraduate studies, and funding as well. Because if our research output is not, up to par, then it means that we're not competing at the level where we're supposed to. So we need to encourage our graduates to go for postgraduate studies and, participate meaningfully in the space so that they're able to take the university to new heights. And then lastly, just addressing some of the issues that students face. There are students who have been disadvantaged by the system. Those students who previously were funded by NSFAS and were dropped somewhere in between, and NSFAS came back, settled the debt. There are students who can't access their qualifications because of those governance issues in between, that there's small issues that are not being addressed, that I feel you just need people to advocate for graduates. You need somebody to be a voice for graduates and to talk about the issues that affect them and find ways to create employability for our graduates, and by strengthening the brand, representing the brand, taking the brand places, and leveraging the alumni relationships that exist outside of the space. Because I've discovered that there are so many TUT graduates in different spaces. Like, for example, there's a lady at the Reserve Bank, she's a manager, and I'm thinking to myself, you're from TUT, we don't even know that, And so we need to leverage those relationships and really just try and create an image that shows that we can do it. And when we enter these spaces, we are ready. We enter ready. And so I think going into the space will help me give back to the university, because not only have I been at BDO, I'm currently in banking. And so I just want to give back all those skills that I've learned, from a governance perspective. Where are we going? We need fresh, young ideas in that space, to say, actually, this is where the future is, and are we ensuring that our graduates are ready for the future that is coming? Are we producing graduates that are going to be employable down the line?
And employability talks to the quality of graduates that a university produce. Yeah. And when you then link graduates and employability, you also need to look at what the market wants. So it's very critical to align that. Yeah. So what do you think can be done from a student leadership or a convocation council space to ensure that market is receiving the quality and the graduate knows what market needs? Because sometimes you find that you're a graduate, you don't understand what market needs and how to get yourself out there.
Yeah, I think we need to bridge the gap between the university and the market, like you said. And by bridging the gap, it means having those open relationships by actively inviting sponsors, different entities that can give back to the university, because we know that a majority of graduates that come from TUT are from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. And so it becomes important to help bridge that gap so that they know what to look out for. They know what to study. And I know they've refined the curriculum a lot, and it's looking more attractive to the market currently. And so if we're going to be the best, we need to find a way to bridge that gap, and having those conversations and just creating a platform to have those conversations, to say, this is the pool of graduates we have. These are the pool of researchers that we're producing. Is the market ready to test and see, And then I think then we pick from the best, and then we send them into these industries, and then it opens space for others as well.
which then becomes a great opportunity for advocating for the brand TUT.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easy to just look at TUT and other University of Technologies and you feel like you can't compete with universities. But at the same time, looking at the type of graduates that gets produced from TUT, that is brand advocacy. Yeah. And I think it's all about pulling everyone, like looking at who graduated from TUT. Then you have a nice pool that then can advocate for TUT and advocate for the brand and ensuring that then that brand maintains its quality and maintain its relevance in the scheme of things. Yeah. So like in that, how would you then make sure that the advocacy element is always upheld? Graduate from universities, comes back and give back because they have to. Even me as a lecturer who's from TUT, I'm part TUT brand. I need to advocate for the brand. So I need people like you in leadership that then encourage me to say, Mama Shella, come back.
Yeah. I was actually at a function the other day at WITS. Yeah. So I've also done a course at WITS, so I'm a WITS alumni as well currently.
WITSy?
Yeah, WITS gives you the edge.
Yes.
And so I like what they do. They've got an alumni space down, I think it's at Olive Plates. They've got a club for alumni. And so it's a space where alumni can go and connect and meet other alumni. So it's almost like an open invitation. And so if TUT is going to leverage the people that it has produced, it needs to create the space. The space doesn't have to be only about just students, because there's a world of graduates. I mean, TUT, if we study the intake in terms of the numbers TUT pulls in every single year and the output at the end of the year, it's incredible. You'll be so surprised how many graduates exist in the different spaces. And so we need to foster that relationship by creating the space and making it attractive, making it beneficial. Make it beneficial to create mentorship programs, allow industry leaders to come in, take up a few graduates, mentor them, give back to that community, give back to that space, fund them, those who can fund them, and, just create that relationship. And the university needs to foster that. It has to be at the center. It can't just be Trudie as an individual who's talking to Mama Shele and then it ends on a podcast somewhere.
It must be a process, and that process has to be triggered by leadership.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. There must be people at the top who are saying, what is it that we can do to tap into this
pool of quality graduate.
To this pool,
I can tell you, TUT even in the university ranking, it comes on the highest list. So one has to tell that story. Leaders has to embrace that story to say, as a university, do you even know our rankings? This is our numbers. Yeah. Talking about numbers, we need to just use those numbers, because then it helps make sure that the graduates that are coming from TUT, they are proud, they have a voice, they can be represented in the market space. Definitely. Talking about vets, I remember when I was on top 35, under 35, they actually pulled my list, my name, and wrote about it somewhere, and it's like they're following their people. Yeah, they don't
claim you.
Yes, they follow their people each year. I'm sure even this year, the top finalist of top 35 Psycha, they would talk about them in their newsletters. So it's things like that really makes this role that you are campaigning for exciting and value adding. So I would definitely encourage each and everyone to vote for you. Definitely. So, but in real sense, why would a person vote for you if I want to vote?
I think we need more relatable people. Yeah. We need people who understand the struggles of graduates, understand what is happening in the economy, are relevant and can contribute meaningfully. Not just from a governance perspective, but also from a representation perspective, because as a female, I think I'm the only female who's contesting, and majority of our graduates are female as well. And so we need people who understand. We need people who are going to, add value. I like to add value. in our space, we talk about adding value a lot. You need to add value. In the space that where you come in, you need to ensure that you add value. And that's definitely what I want to do going into to counsel, just adding value and impacting lives. And even if it will build in the numbers, and keep track of that and account, that we've pulled this many graduates. These are the numbers, These are the numbers of graduates who exist in the corporate spaces. Claim them, just like what these other universities are doing. Claim them so that we have the data, and the data can tell us the story that even graduates from TUT can really make an impact in corporate, can make an impact into entrepreneurship. We're a University of Technology. There are a lot of young, brilliant minds. I've seen some participate in different hackathons, technology hackathons. And so we need to really tap into, those
Our
numbers.
people,
Our people. Yes, they're our people. And we need to come back and give back to that space. If you're good at leadership, come back, give it back to the university. If you're a technology enthusiast, go back and give back.
And it's your time that you're giving back. So I'm so proud 100%. Of you and well done. Sometimes, obviously, when we vote, we want to win, and that will be the ultimate goal. But just raising your hand up and saying, I'm available, I can be used, I'm yours, that is commendable. And it's for a female who is definitely a family person, you are a working professional, that comes with a lot of responsibility. I was just reflecting as you were saying you are the only female. Again, the responsibility of being the first. I wrote an article about this. It's a passion of mine because it's so tough. Even being firstborn, it's a responsibility. My sister had to look after everyone, buy Christmas clothes for everyone, make sure that we all get somewhere. And my sister is not as educated compared to most of us who came after her. And that could be seen that she was not selfish. She sacrificed her time. So raising your hand and being the first is a responsibility on its own. And we want to commend you for that. So I was reflecting and I was following the America election, Trump versus Kamala, women leadership and men leadership. I'm not sure if the world is ready for a female leader. What is your take on female leadership? I know that it can be a thorny one, but
it definitely is, because with the Trump and Kamala one, for me, I think there's one distinction that gave Trump that election, which is the fact that his values are Christian based. So he spoke a lot on the Christian values and preserving, the traditional American family. And so that resonated a lot for him, and which kind of worked against Kamala. I was also rooting for her. To be honest, I was like posting her. I'm like, oh yes, the
female,
first black female.
Amanda to the woman.
Amanda, she's doing it. We see you, we see ourselves. And then it just went the other way. But I'm inspired also by women who stand up and say they are ready. They want to do it, because it's really up to us to raise our hands in the spaces where we come in, to make ourselves available. I think the opportunities are slowly opening up. To even have her contest Donald Trump is something that it shows that it's taking us there. We're going there. And so for me as well, it's that thing of not wanting to bury my light anymore. It's not wanting to be at the back seat and say, the guys will do it. The guys will do it.
And to lose before you even win. Because winning is seen obviously by the numbers and is seen by the votes, but winning is also just raising your hand. And most of us have already lost, because we already tell ourselves, there's no space for women, so I'm not even going to try. Then you even lost before you even started the game. So I think that is very important for us to bring forward to young women who says, I want to lead, to young women who says, I want to be in the forefront, and also teaching them to say winning means that you defeated yourself, you defeated that fear that you had, and you came up. So we need to just push that and teach our young daughters that spirit as well. Not a competing spirit. I don't believe that we need to compete with the males, but we need to just be in the table and enjoy the benefits of being in the table. Because if you were to look at the family structure, there has to be a man and a woman.
Yeah.
But why do we then take ourselves out?
Yeah.
So that being said, and you did say that it's mostly because Trump resonated with people.
Yeah.
So it means as a leader as well, you need to find a strategy to resonate with people, to align with people, and understand what on the ground do you need to solve the problem, and what are the challenges that you are raising your hand for, and how are you bringing the solution. So reflecting on your life and just inspiring that village girl, Trudie, that was just not sure whether she's going to go to university or not. She went to ask, and she was, what would you say to that village girl? Obviously, village boy, township, whatever, but that younger version of you.
I'd firstly say it will work out. It will come together. That all things work together for your good. Even though sometimes it looks like hell, but it will work together for your good. It will come together if you don't give up. Don't give up. Don't allow yourself to give up. Don't allow anyone to tell you to give up. And you're going to be so proud of yourself. You're going to be so proud of yourself for saying yes. When that voice comes up and says, talk to this one, maybe they can help you. And then you go with the fear and you just talk to them and you find out that, oh my God, they just opened a new door that you didn't even know was there. And so don't be afraid to try. Don't let anyone dim your light.
Yeah. And because you are the shining light of your village, you are the shining light of the world as well.
Yeah.
Because we really are global citizens, and we need to compete and put ourselves to those level of spaces. So then there's always this thing that comes to say the youth of this country, unemployment is high, and they're unemployable. You get them. I work with them. So now maybe it's about time we go to the market.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about these products for Wansati, right?
Yeah.
So Wansati means woman in my language, which is Tsonga. It's inspired by a woman, my mother, my daughter, myself, but also it's a story to say that we can be resourceful. So as a woman, I ask myself, what can I do to give back to the world? Obviously, I'm an accountant. I do well in the professional space, but I can give something to someone to help them start something as a business. So it really was inspired by the model of let's create this product so that we can help someone start a business from somewhere. So we have products, personal care products, fragrances, cosmetics. We are just a growing family. And I'm excited in this episode. This is the first time we're
launching
the food range.
I've been following you. Yes. I've seen the lovely stuff.
So the food range is 3. It's a combo of 3. I would advise you to get for your mother, for your father, for yourself. Because sometimes we don't spoil ourselves. We work so hard, but we don't spoil ourselves. So we have a foot range heel balm, where you need to make sure that your heels are very soft all the time. And then we have a scrub, which is exfoliator scrub. You exfoliate. It's like a spa treatment at home. And then we have a nice cream at the end. It's actually a peppermint cream. Smells very nice, calming. After work, a long day of work, you just do that. So that was Wansati, but I was talking about, because I work with the young people a lot and women in Wansati. I see this coming to reality that you get someone, they want to work, but you can realize that there's so much in them that at this point they don't understand the values of work. Then you have to unfortunately let them go. So there's always that debate to say our young people have a qualification, but they are not employable. What is your take there, and how can we solve that problem? Especially because as a leader of council for students, you need to make sure that there's high quality, employable students that are ready to go. When we say we have an internal audit qualification, can you be ready to go?
Yeah, I think it's instilling the value of hard work instilling the value of starting even when you're afraid. Because I think a lot of young people, from what I've seen in the space, they get overwhelmed by the environment. And they're like, this is what, I can't do it. They get discouraged along the way. But I think just instilling the value of hard work, that hard work actually centers you. It centers you. Just knowing that you're doing work that can change, that is impactful. I always say to the young people that I talk to, even at campus, that you need to be proud of the work that you produce. You need to pride yourself with what you do, even at university. When you do an assignment, it shouldn't be a midnight thing where you're just doing it last minute. Whatever you put your name on represents you. It says, this is Trudie. It's like your scent. So when people open whatever you've done, they must know that, no, this is this person. And there's so much value in that, and it pays off. It really, really pays off. I remember being in consulting and thinking to myself, would I ever make it to banking? Would I ever be an auditor in banking? And selling myself short because I had these limitations. But I ensured that I work hard, and whatever I put my name on, I'm proud of. Yeah. I can stand for it. And if somebody was to accidentally, open it some way, then it would still retain its integrity. And so whatever we put out there, whether it's a video, whether it's a simple thing, but be proud of it. That if somebody catches me with this, would I be proud? Would I be able to defend it? And so that's the value of valuing what you do, and also respecting the people that see your work. Like simple things like spelling mistakes and checking things, small stuff. Yeah. Like it shows that you respect the reader, you respect the person who's reviewing your assignment. You put in the effort, and you can see the effort that, this person has decided that this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it diligently, no matter what it is. Yeah.
So it's really instilling the values of self-advocacy, because then you advocate yourself with your work.
Yeah.
And also an attitude of go-getter, an attitude of quality, an attitude of I excel even if I don't have much. And sometimes even with our mind, you ask a person, so what do you think? I don't know. Like, why don't you know as a graduate?
I don't like that. Be inquisitive.
So, yeah, like being curious, understanding that someone is employing you to pay you for you to deliver value. And they're not just paying you to just come in and stand and you don't know. You need to bring solutions. And we need to teach our young people constantly from young age those qualities and values, because attitude means a lot. And it's actually what differentiates you. If you're in a group of learners who are in a learnership or internship, why would they choose you? Not that we're competing, but why would they choose you between the 5 people that are there? So it's those qualities. So then now with this leadership role that you are campaigning for, and we're wishing you all the best, we're rooting for you, not only the fact that you're a woman, but because you are going to add value. You are going to add value. What would you count as your legacy for being a council member? What would you want to be? Clearly, I'm here to do this. This is my mission, and this will be my legacy for being part of council.
Yeah, be impactful, contribute meaningfully, be available. I think sometimes we elect leaders, and especially with the specific one, you elect leaders and they disappear on you. And I value being available. I look up to my pastor a lot. Yeah. My pastor runs a big church. But if you meet him one-on-one, you'd say you're the only person he talks to at that church. And I value that so much, being available, listening authentically, and hearing people's problems so that you are able to comfort them. Sometimes people know that you can't give them solutions. They just need to know that you're hearing what they are saying and you're considering it, and being willing to learn from everyone. I think everybody has something to offer, and you just need to be able to have that ear that deciphers to say, what is it that I can learn from this person? I promise everybody has something valuable to say, and that's also maybe an encouragement for the young people who are shy and timid, that you have something to contribute. I always say to my friend that I met a friend of mine in first year, and this changed my thought process like significantly. And then he said, I did very bad in a test. I think he made me an example. He said, you see, Trudie, you got 10%, I got 90. Do you know that the 10% that you got could have been the 90, could have completed my 90, and I got 100. So don't think that you'd have nothing to add or nothing to contribute. And so everybody has something valuable to add. It's just takes that deciphering to say, okay, what is it that you bring to the table? And I've trained myself to be that person. When I talk to people, when I listen to people, especially young people, I know that you may know something I don't. Yeah.
So you need to listen as a leader, not to even defend or to be defensive, but to bring solution. Because some of the leaders, they are just listening to respond.
That's so true.
They don't even address your issues.
Yeah.
It just becomes so irritating, I can tell you now. So most of the time, people always ask me this question, how do you do it? Where do you find the time? Obviously, now it's in the evening we're recording. It means in the evening you can record. You make time for these things.
True.
Do you believe in the fact that there is a balance? Like, obviously, you are a working professional, you are a family lady, you have other priorities. How do you then manage to also then raise your hand and become a leader? Like, how is your plate being?
Yeah, I actually have a 4-month-old.
Oh, well done. Nantuku, Lucas.
I have a 4-month-old. He's so
guys, I have a
adorable.
great
He's changed my life.
I'm old now.
Yes, and I think support family, just staying family is everything. Just leaning on the people around you, allowing them to support you, and it has helped me a lot. It has lit my fire. My partner is very supportive. He's like, go for it. You want to do this? How can we best do it? I've been fortunate in that regard, but I think for somebody who maybe doesn't have a family close by, lean on the friends that you have, your community. Community is so important.
True.
I mentioned also, I am still instilled in church values, so I believe in community. I believe in asking for, simple things like, please pray for me, I'm doing this.
True.
Leaning on your community, and it will give you strength. Leaning, just that support, it's incredible.
And there is indeed power in numbers. So as we wrap up, and I think your conversation has highlighted to me the value of raising your hand, the responsibility yet again of being the first, and then not remaining the first, because you then multiply. You started at BDO as the first graduate, but now the cycle is becoming even bigger. What does numbers, or what numbers tell you, or a story about numbers, since we are on Numbers Don't Lie podcast?
Yes, numbers don't lie indeed. I think numbers tell you where to lean. Numbers tell you whether you're winning or not. Numbers tell you whether to go in or to hold on, And so leveraging numbers is the best way to move forward. I think in a data-driven society as well, there's so much data everywhere. Even just posting something, you're pulling data, we're speaking right now, and then there's data being pulled. And so leveraging numbers and getting information will tell you what to do, whether it's good to step into something or it's not good to step into something. And so in a leadership context, the one who has the most numbers takes the crown.
And it doesn't matter whether it's one number that just passes the other person. You'll be like, just one person. So please, guys, vote for Trudie. We want those numbers. We want her to lead us, to add value, to impact our lives, and to impact a society of students. I'm very passionate about education, and societies and structures of education are very critical in our lives. Universities plays a very critical role. I know sometimes it's easy for people to say, but people are educated, they're not working, there's a lot of issues and what, but if you were to really check, is the knowledge that's sitting with you to do whatever you do based on knowledge. So education brings that. In closing and in your remark, what would you say really is what you want to be remembered for in your tenure as a council member or as Trudie, who is alive and adding value to this society and community we are in?
To be that person who's ready to raise their hand, to be that person who's available, ready to make an impact, and ready to just be there. To be a listening ear and to actively participate.
Thank you so much. I am a proud mother, professional mother.
Yes.
Continue to thrive. I always tell young people, especially those that I teach or I come to space with, that I'm your mother.
Yeah.
And we always succeed and achieve more than our mothers. So I wish you to achieve even greater, to represent us in the global space, to get all these qualifications you need.
Yeah.
And just be that symbol of light, because when you are a light, we cannot hide you. We want to all see you. But indeed, our listeners, thank you for your time. Numbers don't lie. And Lord, please help us number our days for us to gain wisdom. For indeed, our numbers are numbered. Our days are numbered. Yeah. And thank you so much, Trudie. And we are very proud of you and continue to represent us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.